welcome to another one of Lakehead's webinars this evening, or this afternoon, I guess it is our Discover series. We're going to share a little bit of information about some of our specific programs that we have at Lakehead. We're so happy that you've taken the time to spend a little bit of your afternoon with us today and learn a little bit more about Lakehead and all the amazing opportunities that we have to offer. Before we get started, I just want to go through a couple housekeeping items. We are using Zoom webinars. So for those of you that are attending, other than the hosts, don't have to worry, don't have to sweat. Everyone's been muted and your cameras are off. You can just actually sit back, relax, and enjoy the webinar. However, we do want you to engage with us, and there's lots of ways you can ask us questions. The main way is through the Q&A feature, which you'll see on the navigational bar for Zoom. This is a great way for you to post questions to us, and myself and our panelists will be able to answer those questions. We will either answer them live or through the Q&A feature as well. Alternately, you can use chat. Chat does work well, but we do find sometimes chat hard to see the answer and the question together, because as more chats come through, the question is moved further up the chat box. So Q&A works best for us if that works for you. I will let you know we are still primarily working remotely, and so if there happens to be an unexpected noise or something in the background, please, we do apologize in advance. We can't always control all of our environments that are going on, and so we're going to do the best within the environments that we're working on in this evening. But thanks so much for taking some time to join us this evening. Before we get started, I want to just do some quick introductions on who's the webinar with you this evening. So my name is Tori White. I'm the Senior Recruitment Coordinator for Lakehead University. I have been working at Lakehead, I think, for over 6 years now, but have almost 20 years experience in the post-secondary sector, working with students in choosing post-secondaries and finding programs that are the right fit for them. I have 3 grown kids that have all graduated now from university and post-secondary. My youngest just finished his 2nd degree at Lakehead in April, so did his final year and a half during this pandemic, which made for interesting supper time conversations for sure. And so I think that part of the thing I love about my role is helping students and families to kind of find what programs work best for them and help them answer those questions, both from a student perspective, but also because I've had that experience as being a parent and guiding my own children through post-secondary as well. I'm going to turn it over to Rebecca.
Thank you, Tori. Thank you everyone for being here tonight. My name is Rebecca. I am a undergraduate recruitment advisor, and I'm very excited to not only speak to you, but speak to you about specific programs, because I think these sessions are an amazing way to get more detail and figure out what you want to do once you get out of high school, or once you get out of school and decide to come to Lakehead. So I'm very excited to answer your questions tonight, and I hope everyone has a good time. And I'm also going to introduce our esteemed host tonight. We've got Janice online here.
Hi, everyone, and welcome. This is a lot of fun. I'm a professor in the Department of Biology. I've been at Lakehead 21 years, 21 wonderful years. It's been great. I'm actually an ornithologist, so which is a biologist who studies birds. So it's a long story with many, many field experiences and all sorts of things. I can tell you a little bit about my education. Originally, I was not a biologist. Originally, I was in math, and took a polarity to math and ended up at Ryerson in the Department of Image Arts, which in those days was called Film and Photography. So I got a degree. My first degree is a Bachelor of Applied Arts in film and photography. I was an industrial photographer for about 9 years, and then realized I should have been a biologist all the way along, and went back to school at some advanced age, which I will not admit, and did an undergraduate degree at U of T in ecology and environmental biology, and then went on to a PhD at U of T in avian systematics, which is the study of evolutionary relationships in birds. And people always wonder, well, what birds do you study? And the birds I study are actually called cuckoos. So I know, and I've heard every joke, but they're really a great group of birds with some really, really interesting evolutionary relationships, really interesting behavior. They lay their eggs in other birds' nests and all sorts of things. So I have studied the yellow-billed cuckoo in Texas. I've chased roadrunners. I've attempted to catch them. I have caught roadrunners many times. So it's a lot of fun being an ornithologist. And I'm going to tell you some more stories and some fun things as we go. So
oh my goodness, Janice, I don't even know how I can take over after that. You know, I have to just say, we talk to students all the time about finding passions, and sometimes those passions take you on different paths and in ways you didn't even think. And sometimes, you know, you end up doing something and later you come back realizing you have another dream or passion. Janice, thank you. You just clearly articulated kind of how amazing life, careers, post-secondary is. And that, you know, many times I talk to students and parents and families, and they think that it's going to be this A, B, C, D. And I always say, no, life isn't like that. And sometimes it's about doing something that you're passionate or interested in right now, and that may lead you down an archery or a path or something that you never even knew existed. And I have to tell you, Lakehead is fantastic for that, because of the connections and the types of opportunities that our university provides. So you're going to see a bunch of stats just over the next couple of slides, and this really articulates how Lakehead is a unique and unconventional university. Janice was talking about kind of her research is just fantastic, and Lakehead is ranked #2 in Canada for undergraduate research. And this really allows our students to have that applied experiential learning opportunity. You know, Janice as a professor brings that learning into the classroom as well. And so when you're in these programs, it's not just about learning, you know, what's going on, but learning what's going on in the field in the future and setting those new roads as well. So, you know, being exposed to undergraduate research is an incredible opportunity within our program. The other thing that really makes Lakehead unique is our small class sizes. We're going to touch on this in practical standpoints as we go through the program, through the presentation this evening as well. But 90% of our classes have fewer than 60 students in them. And 60% of our classes have fewer than 25. And I'll tell you, this allows us to learn differently. So our students get a different type of learning experience because of that small class sizes and the engagement that you get to have with faculty, with staff, with their professors, and be involved in the learning, not just sat there listening, but actually being involved in that learning process as well. The other thing that is really unique, and I always say it really ties into our small class sizes and the exposure, the experiential learning opportunities are great employment stats. And you'll see up on the screen that 97.7% of our students are employed within their industry upon 2 years of graduation. And some of our programs have 100% employment stats coming out of the programs. And it's that connection to the faculty and the staff. It's that exposure to experiential learning that allows you to be exposed to the industry, start building relationships, get references and connections that allow you to have those incredible employment stats upon graduation. And, you know, many of the programs we're exploring this evening are undergraduate programs, and there's lots of opportunities to expand on those undergraduate programs as well into professional programming or in masters or PhDs. And I know I'm getting way far ahead of myself, but kind of great opportunities. I always say, make sure, you know, it's really about starting somewhere and seeing where that is going to take you. We have over 65 plus different programs, and many times students come in and say, I think I want to study biology or chemistry or something, and not realizing there's so many different opportunities even within those areas to delve a little bit deeper. And with having lots of options at Lakehead, that gives you the opportunity to move between programs and take electives. And the other thing I just want to touch on is the way that we want to help you financially as well. So we are ranked #1 in Ontario for scholarships, bursary, and awards. We give over $11 million away annually to our students to help you succeed in that future career, that the post-secondary opportunity that you want. All right, I'm going to be quiet for a little bit because this is all about our biology and our applied life sciences and the amazing programs that we have at Lakehead. I'm going to turn it back over to Janice. I'm so excited to listen to you, Janice, and for you to tell us all these amazing things that our students get exposed to within this program. If you guys have questions, Rebecca's going to be behind the scenes helping out as well. So enjoy.
Okay, so biology, next slide. Let's get started. Okay, we always start by what is biology, and it's really difficult to say what biology is. It's so big. It's almost everything. So by definition, biology is the study of plants and animals and the diversity of life in an evolutionary context. It's true. We know it's plants, animals. We know it's also microbes and all sorts of other things. And it's in that context that is everything, and I think the reason it's hard to say what is biology is because biology is the study of life, and life's been on the planet for 3.5 billion years. So anything that's happened in the last 3.5 billion years is biology. And, we see it as sort of a fundamental science because it does involve everything. Not only is it all the organisms on the planet, but how they interact with each other, what's going on inside of them, how do they interact with each other, how do they interact in a community, how does the community function in the ecosystem and in the biome. Everything from the single cell down to all of life on Earth is biology. So there are so many parts of biology, and this is why I can be an avian systematist and someone else can be a fisheries population geneticist, and we have our own little package of biology that is different, but we can spend an entire life in that package. There is so much to learn. So what else have we got on here? As a biology student, you'll gain insight into how organisms interact, how genes are inherited, how creatures evolve, and much more. So you can go all the way down to that molecular level. And I'm going to be talking about that a bit later when we talk about the APLS program, which is really kind of biomolecular perspective on biology. But remember, it goes all the way from that to the whole planet, and it has for 3.5 billion years. The other thing too to remember about biology is it's not about, birds in the forest all the time, although, that's good for me. But you have to think about things like artificial intelligence. That's based on biological systems. So biologists could also be involved in AI. Biologists are also involved in biotechnology. Think about how we're looking for alternative fuels based on organic materials. That's also a biologist's job. So whether you're talking about medicine or whether you're talking about biotech or AI, or whether you're talking about ecology or, as something as academic as taxonomy systematics, it's all biology. So next slide. Thanks. Okay, so why Lakehead? There's biology programs in probably, most universities, there is a biology program. And because it is so fundamental to academia. But why Lakehead? Well, I can tell you a story. Here's the first of my stories. I was educated, as I said, at University of Toronto, big university, one of the biggest universities in the country, if not. And I remember the first day as a first-year student, this is the olden days, with my checkbook in my hand, trying to find the building where I pay my tuition. And I couldn't find the building. It was huge. It was overwhelming. I did some investigation this morning, and I didn't realize that U of T now has an enrollment of over 95,000 students and 75,000 undergrads, which is about 10 times the size of Lakehead. And when you're looking at a university that's that large, that has so many students, of course they have good programs, but the problem is that it can be really overwhelming, and it's very difficult for the professors to know the students and the students to know the professors. When I took first year biology, the class size was 3,000 and it was taught in 2 sections of 1,500 in Convocation Hall. How can you know your professor when there's another 1,499 students sitting with you in the classroom? So, our class sizes are smaller. I teach first year biology, and my class usually is around 200 students. And that is the biggest class in the biology department because it has everyone who's going to be in biology, plus a bunch of other students from other disciplines that want to take the course. But when you get into second year, third year, fourth year, the classes are a lot smaller. And, you know, we in third and fourth year, there's a lot of seminar size classes that are maybe 5 students. And of course, when you get into fourth year, there's a lot of classes that have one. I teach a museum studies course on a regular basis for a very small select group of students. And sometimes there's 1 or 2 students in it. So, you know, we can do things like sit down and have a cup of tea and talk about things. So, you know, this is the advantage of a small university. The other thing about Lakehead is we have lots of hands-on experience. Again, because we're small, you know, we can do a lot of lab courses. In biology, most of our courses have labs. So you can do all sorts of real fun things in the lab. And I'm going to talk in a few minutes about the other kinds of facilities we have on campus, like a greenhouse. And so you can learn some practical skills. You know, you can work in the lab. You learn how to use the fume hood and everything else. Hang on 1 second. I have a issue here. I have lost my slides. I wonder where it is. Oh, there we go. Hang on. Okay. So, you know, you can use all of the facilities, and there's a lot of hands-on. We'll talk about that. The other thing too is we have a lot of research being done, as was just mentioned. And because there's fewer students, there's an opportunity to lots and lots of research projects. And I'm going to be talking about internships later. I'll be talking a little bit about our special topics courses and our honors theses. So once you get into second year, there's opportunities to work one-on-one with professors doing research. And of course, mentoring, because then you're actually working with them. You can learn what they learn and what they know in that really, you know, very, you know, a one-on-one situation where you have a chance to ask questions and learn all sorts of new skills. Just again, when we're talking about the opportunities in small universities and like Lakehead and research, we have a very good record in acquiring what's called a USRA scholarship. This is an undergraduate summer research award. So basically this allows you to work over the summer and get paid, but do a research project. So this is something really fun. I have summer research students on occasion, and it's great because, you know, you can give them a project in the summer, they get paid, and plus they can do something that's really interesting and learn some really important skills. So we're very good at acquiring those. And I've had students publish as undergrads. You know, when you're working with a student and they're doing important projects, what a lot of our researchers are giving to even undergrads is a small section, a little bit of their research program that their student can work on. And then it's going to have something of interest there and something of potentially of scientific importance that they can publish. This is something in big universities just doesn't happen, because these students are not going to be able to do something that is important enough to be published. So that's really cool. We also have lots of opportunities to volunteer. And I have volunteers all the time. I'm the curator of the Natural History Museum, our zoological museum on campus. And so, you know, even if it's replacing the tags on mammal skeletons or cleaning out the back of the ornithological collection and things, there's lots and lots of fun things to do. So you know, you can put your volunteer work on your resume as well, and develop some new skills and have a lot of fun doing it. We also have work study programs there, which allows students to work in the summertime, in the school year, and get paid to do projects. So this is another thing. Now, of course, there's criteria in terms of being eligible for those programs, but those programs are there. And, you know, it's easy for you because you have access to all the profs, you know, to talk to them and ask questions, to find out what research projects are going around, to find out who has opportunities and who would like, you know, who you would like to work with and what would you like to learn. And there's also opportunities, of course, to study abroad. We also have sister campuses. You know, there's Thunder Bay, Aurelia, and the Barrie campus. And so sometimes it's possible to study at other campuses. And I know lots of students who are able to go to interesting places in the world and take courses that are equivalent to the kinds of courses that we have at Lakehead, and they can get credit for those courses. That's pretty exciting as well, and something you'll remember forever if you get a chance to, I don't know, study in Africa or something while you're doing your undergrad. Now, I've just put a little list of some other things we have. This is a small list of the kinds of really fun facilities we also have at Lakehead. The aquatics facility, all these fish in the basement, you know, which is always kind of cool to go down and see them. Instrumentation lab. We have a herbarium and a zoological museum. So herbarium, if you don't know what that is basically a plant museum, which is super cool. You can go in there and look at interesting plants. There's some historical collections in there. They're all pressed, you know, on archival boards. So that's really neat. We have a zoological museum, which if I'm not in my office, that's where I am. I did my PhD at the Royal Ontario Museum under the curator of birds. And then I was a research associate at the Royal Ontario Museum for about 3 years. So I love the collections, you know, go in there and look at this interesting stuff. And I have students, as I said, I periodically run a course in museum studies. And in that course, students get a chance to work in the museum. They get a chance to do a little taxidermy if they want to do that. So it's pretty cool. And we have a paleo DNA lab, which is neat, which has done all sorts of really interesting projects to that have, you know, anthropological significance. And that's really cool. Toxicology Center. There's archaeochemistry. You can see these associations with anthropology. And the experimental lakes area is great. I have a student I know who's been out there all summer collecting fish and doing whatever he's doing with fish. And it was a COVID-free zone all summer. So they had a wonderful time acting like life was totally normal. And so it's really beautiful there. And of course, the Northern Ontario School of Medicine. But for those of you, I put this picture up here because for those of you who are not from the Thunder Bay area, I was astonished when I moved up here 20 years ago from Southern Ontario, how beautiful it is up here. And I thought, to give you a number to tell, like, so that, you know, something I can tell you. I didn't realize that in Northwestern Ontario, there are over 100 provincial parks and provincial nature reserves. There's 58 of them in the Thunder Bay district alone, which is kind of phenomenal. As an ornithologist, I've been to a bunch of them. As a tour guide for my family, when they come to town, I've been to a bunch of them. And I don't think there's any other place I know of in Canada where you can actually hit 5 or 6 provincial parks or nature reserves in one day with your family in the car out for a drive. If they don't want to hike too much, you can actually go, you know, you can actually go to that many. But it's a really great opportunity for a biologist because, you know, we've got tens of thousands of lakes in this beautiful countryside. And in your courses, in your research, you're going to be able to use this. This is probably the greatest resource we have at Lakehead is Northwestern Ontario. And it's just 5 minutes down the road. You know, you don't have to go very far to see this kind of scenery. Okay, so programs. We have a number of different programs in the biology department, 23 programs at the moment, and they have varied areas of interest, and also cater to different kinds of students, different types of students' interests, and also in terms of what students want to do afterwards. So there's a big choice of programs. Most of the students that we have in biology are in those first 4 on the list, and actually the top 2 are the biggest programs. So that's our HBSC, so it's Honors Bachelor of Science with Biology major, and an Honors Bachelor of Science Applied Life Science major, which I'll talk about later. Those are our 2 biggest programs. But we also have an HBESC, which is a Honors Bachelor of Environmental Studies. And we also have a HBSC Biology and Chemistry major. I'll talk about those a little bit, and then I'll talk about the other 2 down there. Now, the biology major I'm going to be talking about in more detail since it's our largest and most popular program. And life sciences I'm going to be talking a little bit later because it's our second largest and most popular program. But these other ones are also really interesting. And they're growing in terms of the numbers of students that are interested in these areas and interested in taking these programs. The Honors Bachelor of Science in Environmental Studies is quite like a typical biology major. But some of the courses, there are some additional core courses in environmental studies. So if you're a student who likes biology, but you want to you have an interest in the environment, an interest in having if you have some professional interests in going in that area, then that is a good degree because it has that additional specialization in the environment. The other thing about that degree, and something that we have a lot of in the biology department, is we have a lot of transfer programs. And I'm going to be talking a bit about them as we go because different programs have sort of different criteria for transfer programs. But basically a transfer program allows a student who has a diploma from a college in a particular area of study to get advanced standing and get into Lakehead, into the biology department, to finish their degree. Now, this is great because, I mean, I have 2 years of college way back when from Quebec, and the college programs have a different perspective than the universities. So you get these 2 years in college where you have a little bit more kind of a practical, particularly if it's something like wildlife management, you have a more practical hands-on kind of approach to that. And then you come to university and do a couple more years where you learn additional skills and you learn additional academic perspective on critical thinking and writing and research. And so you end up with the best of both worlds, that you have the two. So these transfer programs are really popular, and environmental studies has a transfer program. So basically, if you have a 3-year degree, a 3-year diploma in an environmental technology program, something like that from an Ontario college, you can get credit for the first 2 years of your university degree. So you come in and you start in 3rd year. So, and at the end you have both. It's a really good, it's a really, really good combination of programs. You have the diploma plus you have the degree. So that's becoming more and more popular. So there's a transfer program in that particular, there's a transfer option in that particular program. The biochem major is another area that's becoming more popular, I think, because of biotechnology. There's a lot of students that are interested in having a large chemistry component to what they're doing. Now, this is popular, but really difficult. Can you imagine, you know, biology can be difficult, chemistry can be difficult, but doing both at the same time can be really challenging. And what's different in this program is that most of the time when you're doing an undergraduate degree, there's 40 courses in 4 years. So there's like 10 half courses per year. And about half of those are your major. So in the biology department, you'll do 10 biology credits. So there's 20 biology courses and then 20 of the other stuff. Well, in this, you end up doing about 15 bio and chemistry. So there's only about 5 credits, that's 10 courses, where you actually have some choice of what you want to take, like maybe you want to take anthropology or something. But even many of those are pre-selected as math and physics. So this is a real heavy-duty science program, but it's very, very well respected. So if you really feel that you have the, you have the interest and you have the motivation to do this program, it's a great program. But you don't get a lot of choice. So you have to really love biology and chemistry and the other sciences. Now, these courses, these programs, you can see the H on the front, and this means that they're an honors program. So it's a 4-year. And we have options with that as well. An honors program in biology requires you to maintain a 70% average. But if you're struggling and you can't maintain a 70% average, all of these programs have what we call a Bachelor of Science 4-year option, which means you can then shift into a non-honors program. It's still a 4-year degree. You still get a Bachelor of Science, but you only need to maintain a 60% average. And some students, if they're struggling with their honors degree, they can do that. They can move into the 4-year Bachelor of Science. And if you bring your grades up, of course, you can go back into the honors program, but it's kind of nice to know that there's a safety net. You know, if you struggle, and some students do struggle, particularly that biology chemistry is really difficult, there is an option. You know, we don't want you to go home. So we have this option. We also have another option, and that's the BSc Natural Science major, which is a 3-year degree. And this is a great degree for anybody who doesn't like chemistry and math and really struggles with those, or physics, and really struggles with those other sciences, because this is a degree that has the biology core courses, but then has a lot of electives, so that if you're someone who doesn't really care about going to grad school, you just want to learn about things, there's a lot of room in that natural science degree to take philosophy courses, to take sociology courses, to take anthropology courses. So this is really good for someone who just wants to experience it. You know, it doesn't give you the opportunity to go on to grad school, because you need a 4-year degree to do that. But it's a great program for just enrichment. And the one below that is the same. This is the Outdoor Rec, Honors Bachelor of Outdoor Rec, Natural Science, Biology, Natural Science major. And this is a 4-year program. It's basically the natural science major with a little bit of outdoor recreation put on top of it. So it's really great. A lot of people like this one too, because it's not as touristy as the outdoor rec department is. We do have courses, you know, we do have a faculty of outdoor rec, but it's not as touristy as that. It's still biology, but you get a chance to do the outdoor rec stuff. So, which is a lot of fun. I'm not sure about the winter camping, but the rest of it looks like it's a lot of fun. And so there's another option. So there's lots and lots of options. And what's just mentioned down here that I could probably, you know, end up talking a lot about too, is that a lot of these programs are offered as concurrent education. So if you're interested in teaching biology, these 4-year courses can be offered as a 6-year with a concurrent education. So you end up with the undergraduate degree in biology, plus you end up with the 2 professional years of education. The 3-year programs are a 5-year concurrent education. And there's even some accelerated ones, so you can take extra courses in the summer, and so you can do this 6 and 5. So that's another thing that's really popular too. So that when you graduate, not only do you have the undergraduate degree in biology, you also have the credentials you need to teach. So again, another really popular way of taking biology. So our most popular program is this one. And this is the one that is the sort of the foundation for the biology department. This is the Honors Bachelor of Science in Biology major. And it allows you to customize to some degree, because it doesn't have as many core courses as the biology chemistry major or the APLS, which I'll talk about later. So there's more room for electives. Now you still have to take the same number of biology courses, but you have more options in terms of which ones you want to take. So if you're more interested in evolution, you can take more courses like that. If you're more interested in plants, you can take more plant courses. So this is why this one is so popular. And the general admission requirements to get into the HBSC biology are, you know, pretty standard. You know, you have to complete high school, 6 12U courses, and you have to have a 70% overall final average. And that 70% is a really key number, because to maintain, as I said, to maintain a position in the honors program, you have to maintain a 70% average. It varies in terms of the programs as to whether that is just the biology courses or whether that is whether that's your average over the past year. So you have to kind of check with the programs to see specifically what's under that umbrella of 70%. But just keep it in mind that you have to maintain the 70%. But if you can't maintain the 70% average, then you can apply to get into the BSc Biology 4-year program, which again is the same courses, the same options, everything is the same, except you only have to maintain a 60% average. So for some students, particularly if they're just kind of getting used to being away from home or used to the university environment, that sometimes the grades can slide below 70, in which case you have a chance to kind of pick them back up and then get back into the honors program. Now, the advantage of the honors program is that you can do an honors thesis, which I'll talk about later. So there's more research and things you can do when you're in your later years. So, you know, I like to try and encourage students to stay in the honors program if they're able to. And of course, there's lots and lots of resources on campus to help you, to kind of to help you with studying, to help you with organization and all sorts of things. So that 70%, keep that in mind. So just to kind of go through a little bit about the kinds of courses you'd be taking in first year. Now I teach animal biology, so in first year you're going to be taking plant and animal biology. Those are the two basic biology courses, first year biology courses, 2 courses in chemistry, 2 courses in calculus, and then 2 science electives not in biology. A lot of students will take anthropology, for instance, you know, or maybe they're interested in geology, maybe first year geology or geography. So they'll take science electives there of things that they're interested. And if there's something you're really interested, like let's say you are really interested in anthropology, it's a good idea to take the first year course, because then that'll allow you to take upper level courses in that discipline when you get into second, third, and fourth year, because you'll have the groundwork, you'll have the prerequisites. So that's another thing I recommend to students. Think about what other areas you're interested in and make sure you put the foundation down in first year. You also take 1 non-science elective and 1 open elective. A lot of students use those 2 courses in first year for taking English. And it's actually a really good idea. And I know people are going, no, I don't want to take English. But there's a couple of courses that are so great here that students take in first year. One of them is professional writing and one is academic writing. And so the academic writing course will teach you how to write in an academic style, how you format different kinds of things you need to write in academia, you know, like lab reports. So it's really useful to take that in first year. And the other course of professional writing, I didn't actually know what that one was until I asked someone, what did you learn? And they learned amazing things like how to write a proper memo, how to write a business letter, you know, how to write a resume. And these are really important things. So, you know, if you don't like novels, you know, you don't have to take the Victorian novel course or these sorts of things that I took when I was in university. We have the professional and the academic writing, which are really great courses to take. And it's kind of a nice change from chemistry and physics and biology and everything else you have to take in first year. The other thing I wanted to mention is there's a little number on here. You'll have about 25 to 34 hours a week in class. That's pretty standard for biology because we have labs in most of the courses. Now the labs are a lot of fun, and so I think personally you can take those off the list and say they don't count. But there's a lot of time involved, and I think a lot of students don't realize that when they come from high school. And because I see students in first year, I see a lot of students that think that it's the same, and it isn't the same. You know, there's more work. The work is harder. It's interesting. The people are interesting. There's, you know, lots and lots of fascinating people on campus, but there is work. And the other thing I think that's really different is that nobody's going to chase you down if you don't come to class. And I know that because I don't chase my students down when they don't come to class. But, you know, I always say that students who don't come to class are really missing a lot, because that's the whole point of coming to university. And I think it's really important to stay dialed in, and it's really important to keep on top of the work and do a good job. And because there's so many opportunities further down the road, if you have a really positive perspective when you come in on doing a good job at university. So you can see in second year, the courses get to be a little bit more specialized: introductory ecology, cell biology, genetics in second year, then more math and more chemistry, and some more electives. So second year, you still are you have a little bit of a box around you in second year. Of course, what happens after that is in third and fourth year, you have lots and lots of options. I have down here evolutionary concepts and indigenous ethnobotany, because these are the only 2 core courses you have to take in third year. But other than that, third and fourth year, it's really open to what you want to do, where you want to go with it, you know, what interests you the most. So, let's go on then. I can show you. I don't want to. Types of things that you can take in third and fourth year. This is where things get really fun and interesting. And in the biology department, we have these 2 lists, and you have to take a certain number of courses from these 2 lists. And you'll see that on one of the lists, the list is kind of a, you know, cell and molecular stuff on list 1, and list 2 is kind of ecology, evolution, and environmental biology. And you have to take a certain number of courses from each one of these lists. And this is because we want you to know a lot about a lot of things. This is what bred this all about. I mean, this is why we go to university. So you may know more about conservation biology and biogeography than you do about physiology, but at least you know something about physiology. So you have to take a certain number of courses, but they're really interesting. The third and fourth year electives, there's lots of different courses. They're also changing all the time. We have a course that we all call special topics. I can't remember what the official name is, but basically it's a course that allows a professor to teach what they want any semester they want when they, have students that are going to be interested in that. And that's where I teach my museum studies, because it's something that really interests me. And so I can say, okay, I'm doing museum studies this year, and students have an opportunity to take that course. It's not in the regular calendar, but it comes up, and so most of us teach one or two special topics on a regular basis, and it's usually something that is near and dear to our heart, our research, our interests, and they're low enrollment courses, and they're really great. It's always a good idea when the course timetable comes out every year to take a look and see what special topics are being offered, because you might find some things you didn't even know you could take in university. I've always said I've wanted to teach an entire course about dogs. I haven't done it yet, but I have a list of students ready to sign up next time I say I'm going to do it. I'm a dog person. But anyway, so, there are some fun courses that aren't on the regular list. Keep an eye open for that. And of course, in fourth year, you have the opportunity to do an honors thesis. If you're the honors program, you find yourself a supervisor who's doing interesting research that interests you, and you spend an entire year from September to April doing a research project that is associated with their research, and you write it up like a thesis, and you present it at the end of the year to the faculty and to your peers in the department. And it's a really, really good idea if you plan on going to grad school, because it's kind of like mini grad work in 1 year. So that's something to keep in mind for fourth year. There's also some internships available. There's other kinds of programs, other kinds of research courses available. So they're always around. You have to look and talk to people, but there's always those opportunities as well. So something that's relatively new around here, which is a great idea, are concentrations. And actually, it started a few years ago, and now I think 2/3 of our HBSC students are enrolled in a concentration. Basically, a concentration is like specializing in something. So we have 4 concentrations right now: animal sciences, biodiversity and conservation, plant sciences, and neuroscience. So basically what you do is you take courses, biology courses, that are on these lists that are required by these concentrations. They're probably courses you're going to take anyway. Like, for instance, biodiversity and conservation is one that I do academic advising for. And so the students who are taking biodiversity and conservation are taking ornithology, they're taking evolution of vertebrates and herpetology and limnology and all these courses they were planning on taking anyway. But now they can actually get something on their transcript that says that they have specialized in this area. So basically what you do for these concentrations is you take 10 of your biology courses off of these very generous lists, make sure that you have some from each list, and you can get this line on your transcript. And for instance, in biodiversity of conservation, you can take courses in animal biodiversity, plant biodiversity, and biodiversity in community and ecosystems. And they're courses you would have taken anyway. But if you make sure you check all the boxes, you can get this credential. And it is really nice to graduate with a degree that says that you have an honors Bachelor of Science biology major with a concentration in biodiversity and conservation. It looks really good. And it also tells your prospective employer or your potential graduate advisor that you really know your stuff in that area, that you've specialized in that area, that's where your area of interest is. So as I said, about 2/3 of our students are now enrolled in one of these concentrations, and they love them. The most popular right now is animal sciences, and lots of people who are interested in going to vet school will take the concentration in animal sciences, because it does really help in terms of that when they put their package into applied to vet school, to show the people who are assessing these packages that they have taken that extra effort to become specialized in animal sciences. So these are really a good idea.
Janice, I just while we're talking about concentrations, we did have a question come through the Q&A, and I know you've talked about it, but just want to clarify it a little bit deeper. And the question's regarding the difference between the concentration in animal sciences versus the concentration in biodiversity and conservation. So can you just touch on that a little bit more specifically on how those two concentrations differ?
Yes, animal sciences is more, how should I say this? It's more in terms of the animal itself, you know, from the point of physiology and anatomy, and there is some overlap, but it doesn't have the same sort of ecological and environmental component to it. I think that's the real difference. So that where biodiversity and conservation is going to include courses in conservation and courses in taxonomy, in environmental biology, the animal sciences is more focusing on an animal. So if you can kind of imagine, if animal sciences is more for someone who is studying to be a vet, biodiversity and conservation might be someone who is working with species at risk. You know, it's still animals, but it's a little bit different perspective on it. So where do biology graduates go? There's so many places. It's such a big area. Lots of our biology graduates go to professional schools, of course, medicine, vet school, optometry, dentistry, occupational therapy, whatever you can think of. Of course, that is the way into the professional schools in many cases is with an undergraduate biology degree. Many of our graduates go into research, they go into grad school. So a master's degree or a PhD. So if you're interested in academia, that's one way to do it. A master's degree also is very good for wildlife biologists. Many wildlife biologists get a master's degree, which gives them another leg up in terms of going into that area as well. Biologists can do environmental consulting. So environmental assessments are so important these days. And many engineering companies and other industries have staff biologists that are there to provide them with expertise in terms of going forward on their projects. Staff biologists, M&R, for instance, you know, some great jobs. I used to know a staff biologist at the M&R that spent, it says working in the field in the office, he spent about 10 minutes in the office and the rest of the time he's flying around in helicopters counting caribou. So what a great job, you know, for him, as little time in the office was really the best way to go. So there is a lot of field work. And if you like being outside, if you like the out of doors, there's always room for hardy people who like field work, because it takes a special kind of person to be able to, you know, work under, you know, minimal conditions in the field and still be happy and convivial. So that if that's for you, that's, you know, that's a great opportunity. Of course, there's also environmental officers. So as I said, a lot of industries will be hiring biologists. And of course, science writing, you know, so the communication of science. Many of the people you see on TV, you know, or writing books or whatever, they might have a bachelor degree in biology, which gives them some background for communicating science. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about applied life sciences. And this is that other big program that we have. It's we currently have about 145 students in APLS, and you can see that the perspective is a little bit different. You know, APLS is quite an interdisciplinary study. There's elements of biology, chemistry, physics, anthropology, medicine, biotech, and diagnostics. So the main difference, I think, if you look at the APLS program and the biology program, is that APLS really focuses on cellular level and the biomolecular level. So there is a lot of courses involved in laboratory work, in hands-on research, learning those skills, learning the equipment. There's some really cool stuff, and how to use those things and how to use these tools out there in the real world. Of course, we always teach everybody critical thinking skills. And so if you go into the APLS program, you're going to take a lot of lab courses. You're going to be doing lots of research, working with research and level of courses, and also research potentially with professors as well, because they have a lot of research that they do in the labs, and they take a lot of students to help them with that research. We also have internships and other kinds of programs as well. So if you love science and you love many different sciences and you're not afraid of physics, that's a real key. Because yeah, everybody, I notice most science students have one clunker, like they can be awesome in chemistry and biology, and there's always one that they don't do well. For a lot of people, it's physics. I think it just requires a different perspective. So if you're not afraid of physics, this may be the program for you. So the APLS program is available on our 3 campuses. So Thunder Bay, Orillia, and there is a Barrie Orillia combined initiative. So the Thunder Bay campus offers most of the options. So there is an Honors Bachelor of Science, APLS, which is the 4-year honors degree. There's also that 4-year non-honors option as well. So you have the same options, just like when we talked about the HBSC and those other programs. So you have the same option with the 70% average and with the 60% average. The Thunder Bay campus also has a concentration, which I'll talk about later, and there are specializations. And there's even a minor. You can take a minor in anthropology. You'll notice as I go through this, anthropology is a really important part of the APLS program, because now anthropology has become very DNA based. And so if you like anthropology is great. If you like anthropology, this is another thing. And you can take a minor in anthropology, which is pretty cool. That shows up in your transcript also. In Orillia, we have the honors program and the 4-year program. And there are some specializations. The concentration is not available at Orillia, but all of the other programs are. And the Barrie Orillia combination is a really, really neat combination. This is basically a 4-year program, but you do the first 2 years at Georgian College and end up with a degree in biotechnology health, and then go to Orillia to do the second 2 year, like year 3 and 4, in the APLS program, and you end up graduating with the Honors Bachelor of Science APLS degree. So this is a great idea. So you've got the 2 years of hands-on at the college, and then the 2 years of more academic work at the university, and you end up get 2 credentials at the end of it. So this has been really, really popular. And there's also transfer programs. So this particular Barrie Orillia initiative, some students start directly from high school and go into that right from high school, so that they know in advance that they're doing the 2 years at Georgian and the 2 years at Orillia. And the criteria for getting into that program, you need to have English, advanced functions, biology, and chemistry in high school. So some students are prepared and they know that's what they want to do, they do that. But there are some students that come through on a transfer. So we have the same arrangement with Georgian. So if a student has that 2-year diploma from Georgian College, they can apply for advanced standing in Orillia to do the last 2 years of APLS. And there's a 2-year and a 3-year option. So if a student has a 2-year diploma in a college that has the appropriate diploma that they took, they can get advanced standing and get credit for first and second. 3-year diploma, they can get credit for the first and second year, and then they have 2 years left to finish their degree. If they have a 2-year diploma, they can get credit for first year, and then they only have 3 years to that they need to do to complete their degree, and they end up with the diploma and the degree. And there are some accelerated programs that offer science summer courses. So, it's possible to transfer in and do some additional courses in the summertime, and they get finished a year later. So that's a great option for anybody who has done a biotech diploma at a college in Ontario, we offer these different kinds of transfer programs. So this is, yeah, it's a really, really good idea. So if we look at APLS in general, you can see that in year 1 and 2, a lot of basic sciences, and I'll show you in a minute because we've got lots of math and physics and chemistry and everything in the first 2 years. And then in 3 and 4, you learn how to apply them. A lot of applied laboratory work in 3 and 4, and of course, you get to choose some additional courses. And this is also where you get a chance to do a lot of hands-on research in 3rd and 4th year. So in first year, some of it looks similar to what we've seen already: animal and plant biology, 2 courses of chemistry, 2 courses in calculus. But this is where it's different. 2 courses in physics. You have to take physics. You don't have to take physics in the HBSC program, and you take an introductory anthropology, and then 1 open elective. And again, this is classic option to take that academic writing course in English. But you can see already that the APLS program is more structured. There are not as many options in terms of electives. So if you're interested in a great variety of topics, you might be better off with the HBSC program. But if you're really specifically interested in biomolecular work and lab work, then this might be for you. And of course, this varies. This first year varies a little bit according to what campus you're on, but it does give you an idea. Second year, again, you don't have a lot of choice, but you have some great courses: genetics, cell biology, microbiology, lab biology, human variation anthropology is a great course. 2 courses in chemistry, and then you have a little bit of choice. You can take another chemistry, you can take human evolution, another great course, evolutionary concepts, and then you have 1 open elective. Again, not a lot of extra choices, but there are some really great courses in second year. Third year, you start to have a little bit more choice. DNA methods in anthropology, great course. You take some biochemistry. Again, I hope you like chemistry. More math, indigenous ethnobotany, and then you start to see some electives. So you have some biology electives you need to take and some open electives. And when you get to 4th year, you'll see there are no criteria in terms of which courses that specifically you have to take. You have to choose the right ones, but you have electives. So you need to take 6 courses in biology and then 4 open electives. And of course, next slide, please. And so of course, there's different kinds of courses you can take as electives. You have to take a certain number of courses from each of these lists, but look at these great courses: forensic anthropology, fabulous course; cancer biology, neurochemistry, molecular imaging. You take a bunch of those courses from list 1, and then you take a bunch of courses from list 2. The list 2 examples are more lab-based, so bioinformatics, physiology, parasitology. The fungi course is a great course. You can learn a lot about what to eat and what not to eat, and from an expert. So it's a really interesting course. Molecular genetics, fascinating course. So these are some of the examples of courses. There's lots more than this, but of courses you'd be taking at the 3rd and 4th year to fill in those electives. And also, because we know there's a heavy research component to APLS, we have research project courses. You can take quite a number of them. There is a limit to how many of these independent project courses you can take, but you can take quite a few in APLS, which allows you to work one-on-one with a professor on some of their research, fascinating stuff. And of course, there is an honors thesis. If you're in the honors program, just like the HBSC, you can do an honors thesis in 4th year, which is a really great opportunity to kind of really get your feet wet in terms of what academic research is all about. And there is a concentration, and it works more or less the same as the HBSC concentrations. This one is the applied, APLS major with a concentration in biomedical sciences. There are a lot of people interested in this concentration as well, and a third to a half of our APLS students are now registered in this concentration. And just like the other concentrations, there's a couple of lists, and you have to take a certain number of courses from each list. But these are probably courses like parasitology that you probably were going to take anyway because it's interesting and it fits into your program. And so it's very, very simple to get the right courses to get one of these concentrations. And this one is becoming more and more popular. And I guess the last thing is, what do you do with an APLS degree? So much. You can do so much. Jobs in biology, there's just so many things, you know. There's lots of jobs in industry, biochemistry, microbiology, biotechnology, lots of jobs in industry, lots of jobs in government. Think about all the things going on right now, you know, with COVID, in terms of how many people are working in labs on this particular initiative right now. So Health Canada. There's also lots of things in food. We have a food microbiologist on faculty in Thunder Bay, and she is so interesting, the types of things that she studies. We don't think about food microbiology, but you know, when you think about food in terms of the production of food, it's a massive industry and really, really interesting. This also can prepare you for professional school. It's another way to prepare for professional school. So medicine, vet, pharmacy, dentistry, same list. You can go the HBSC route, or you can go the APLS route. And of course, also postgraduate school. So it does open the doors to do a master's degree and a PhD degree if you're interested in pursuing academia. And just to add up here, if you have some, if you need additional information about the APLS program, the coordinator is David Law. He's at the Aurelia campus, and he can answer a lot of really specific questions about APLS if you have some additional questions.
Wow, Janice, that was so much great information. I actually don't think we got many questions because you covered things in such detail and gave so much information. So thank you so much for that. I'm going to put you on the hot spot for just a second, however, because and you did mention it at the very beginning, kind of how that small university really does make a difference and impact for students right as an undergrad. And I know sitting in a number of sessions, listening to professors talk about programs over the last couple of years, the one thing that comes out again and again for the sciences is really that opportunity to be involved right from an undergraduate level. And I'm going to let you explain it better than I can, but I'm hoping I'm leading you down the right path, but it's really, you know, if you go to a larger institution and study science, most of the time you're getting the results of the test or the lab. You're not actually going into the lab, and you know, you're handing things off to the tech because there's too many students in the program to be able to have that experiential hands-on approach. Can you just speak to that a little bit on why, you know, that small class sizes really gives our students an advantage within the science programs?
Well, I think there's lots of advantages. For one thing, we know all our students. You know, I think I see students in my courses in first year, third year, and fourth year. I don't teach any second year courses, but first, third, and fourth. And so I see them come in first year, and then I see them again in third year, and I see them again in fourth year. So I know all their names. You know, they know me, I know them. They know I'm approachable. You know, I know what students are interested in and, you know, how enthusiastic they are. They drop into my office hours and we talk about things. So I know. So if I'm looking for a student to do a project, or if a student is looking to do a project, we're all accessible. The students are accessible in terms of, you know, this project would be great for so-and-so for a thesis, you know, or a student come to me and say, like, I'm interested in doing something interesting over the summer. What have you got going? And it's true. And this can work because it's small, you know, I mean, because we, you know, even the campus is being small, you know, people know how to find my office. And I think that the other thing is students ask, and I think this can be really overwhelming in a big school, that the students are afraid to ask their professors. And I know that I was at U of T, it's like the professor is like up on the big pedestal and there's no way you would ask, you know, do they have any research that need doing or any volunteer work that needs doing? But because it's small and they can find me and they see me at the cafeteria buying a cup of tea and all sorts of stuff, it's like I'm a real person. And so students don't have a problem knocking on my door and saying, I really am interested in birds, you know, where do I go from here? So I give lots of students ideas, not just my research, but where they can go, pursue their own interests, or where they can go to grad school, or who they can talk to, because I get to know the students. I also write a lot of letters of recommendation, and I know
I was just going to mention that when
Yeah.
you were talking about grad school and professional school.
I write a lot of letters, and that is even great in a small school too, because I know my students. I don't write the same letter for all students. I actually know what they're interested. I know that they can speak French, or I know that they have interest in hockey or something, or that they've had leadership, opportunities in high school. I know these things, so I can write letters of recommendation because I know my students. And it isn't the same as in a big school where it's just, okay, well, it's just another student, and they all kind of, after a while, I can't imagine teaching 1,500 students in a class. There would be no way to have any connection with any of them. Maybe somebody sitting in the front row you could make eye contact with. But
who's staring you down through the entire lecture, making you super uncomfortable. And you're like, could you please move back a couple of rows? So, I mean, this is exactly why our students can be so successful. So, that exposure, how we have incredible stats of students that are going on successfully to med school and to professional program, into vet school, and going to do masters and PhDs. And it's that small knit community that you get at Lakehead, and that exposure right from first year. And Jan, you hit it on the head. Like, your professors are people, and you're going to get to know them on a personal level as well. It's not like this cloaked figure at the front of the room that stands up and clicks the slides and slides in and slides out of the room, and you don't even have any contact with them. So it's really nice to have that personal approach and to have that engagement on campus that allows you to be a part of that learning experience and not just being taught at during your time. So phenomenal opportunities for students, not only at the undergraduate level, but preparing you for whatever pathway you want to take as well, because sometimes you don't even know, right? Like, you can come in and thinking, this is what I want to do, and then you might get introduced to Janice and you're like, this is so cool. I didn't even know I could study this.
I've been responsible for converting a lot of people to birds. Yeah.
I would say good on you then. Good job.
It's funny too. I have to also mention that it's not just the profs that are approachable, it's everyone else on campus too. And so, if students need help, there are so many other services, like student accessibility services, for instance, or student success, like places that they can go, they can get help, and that people are there to help them and are going to listen to them. So students don't have to feel like they're this, tiny person in this giant university machine with the checkbook looking for a place to pay tuition. So it's not just the profs, it's everybody else too. It's the whole community.
And because we are a small community between our two campuses and our partnership program as well, we can do lots of, hey, we notice you're kind of having a hard time. Have you gone and checked out accessibility services, or have you gone for tutoring, or did you know about the health and wellness services? Because we're such a tight community that many times we can make that referral or tap someone on a shoulder and give some recommendations as well. So that is a fantastic segue actually into the next little bit. So Janice is not disappearing. So if you do have questions specifically about the biology program, the applied life science program, do post them in the Q&A. I did mention there's hardly any because it was so thorough. So I do appreciate that for sure. I just want to chat a little bit about a couple of next steps for those of you that are on the webinar with us today. So if you are direct from high school, just a couple of reminders. It's actually January the 13th is the deadline for students to apply direct from high school. So if you're in Ontario, applying through OUAC, the Ontario University Application Center, that's a 101 application. You want to apply by January the 13th for equal consideration into the programs. And then there's a couple other deadlines on the screen as well related to a scholarship. So we do a lot of scholarship offers and deadlines in early April and then in June. Now we do have one incredible scholarship, which is an automatic entrance scholarship for students that are coming direct from high school. That one you don't have to worry about applying to because it is assessed automatically as we receive your transcripts and your applications as well. We also we talk a lot about community. We talk a lot about our campuses and how, how rich our communities and our campuses are, and the networks that we have. I think we're so blessed to live and teach and work in these beautiful locations in Northwestern Ontario and in Central Ontario as well. And we'd love for you to see them for yourself. We are still hosting live guided virtual campus tours. And this is not just a tour where you're clicking through and like looking at it. No, we have students that are actually guiding you through campus. Like a webinar, just like you're doing today. You can ask questions on the tour as well. So we're doing live guided campus tours twice a week right now, once for the Aurelia campus, once for the Thunder Bay campus. We are working to have in-person campus tours available shortly. So we're just putting a few things in place to start offering our in-person campus tours. We know we want you to come and see and believe it and make those connections that we talk about on campus. So that is coming as well. This weekend, we're launching the first of 2 virtual open houses we're having this year. Saturday is our first one, and we would love for you to attend that. That's a great way to connect with faculty from our program areas, ask questions. We have our Journey to Lakehead student panel. You can listen to students and ask questions on what their journey was coming to Lakehead. You can find out a lot more about financial aid and student life and residence. So we really encourage you to attend our virtual open house on Saturday, starting at 10 a.m. Registration is required, and you can go to our website to find a little bit more about how to register for that. If you can't make that one, we do have another virtual open house coming up in December as well. Now, as you're exploring universities, exploring programs, we have lots of ways for you to continue to connect with us. Today, you're attending one of our Discover Lakehead series, and these are phenomenal series because it actually allows us to connect directly with faculty within program areas and highlight some key programs that we have at Lakehead University, but we have some general series as well. So we run our All About Lakehead series twice a week on Mondays and Thursdays, and gives you a little bit more information about scholarships, residence, campus life. And then we have some faculty program specific webinars running as well, and that's a Getting to Know Lakehead series. So lots of ways to continue to learn more about your Lakehead journey. Connecting with us as well, if you're wanting to have more of a one-on-one appointment, you're like, I don't know if this is the right program for you, or you want to check on admission requirements, you want to learn a little bit more about what that first year would actually look like and what classes would look like, you can book a virtual appointment with us. And myself and 6 of my colleagues offer virtual appointments, one-on-one appointments. These can be done through the phone or through Zoom. So if you'd like to connect with myself or our colleagues, please book a time that's the best for you. And lots of ways to kind of see what's going on campus. So if you follow us on our social media feeds, you can find out what's going on our campus and what our students are doing on a day-to-day basis. So you can check out our Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and our YouTube channel has lots of great videos as well. So sessions and webinars like this, we record and then we upload these onto YouTube for future use and future viewing. So great way to continue to learn a little bit more. So our time today is coming to an end. I want to thank everybody who's been hanging tight with us today through this webinar. It's been so great to have so many individuals connect with us to learn a little bit more about biology and our applied life science programs. Thanks so much, Rebecca, for posting some links into the chat as I was going through some of that information. That's fantastic. Great ways for you to connect with us a little bit further. I don't see any other questions so far. No. Well, I want to thank Janice. Thank you so much, Janice, for your passion and your knowledge. So much great information. I always, at the end of every single one of these, I'm like, oh man, I need to take that program because I get so excited about what you're learning and what you can get to do and all the opportunities. So thank you so much for your expertise this evening. Providing amazing information on our biology and applied life science program. Really appreciate it.
Well, you're very welcome. Thanks for inviting me. It's been fun.
It has been fun, and this is what coming to Lakehead's all about. We want to thank you guys for joining us this evening. We hope that tonight's not the last time that you connect with us, and hopefully we look forward to seeing you either on a campus tour at one of another in-person or virtual events in the future. Other than that, have a great rest of the evening.